Welcome back. This week, Grow Time Hydroponics Facebook Live. We're doing system maintenance. I'm Alex. Happy to have you here. I'm going to wait just a few moments. Hopefully some people will join us. If not, we'll get started anyways. As always, this is recorded, so it will be available after the live period is over. But hopefully, we'll get some interaction, get some questions going and stuff. We do have a few more weeks of our Facebook Live events already planned out. If there's anything you guys are interested in, you really want to know about, I'm happy to, do other Facebook Lives to talk about, what interests you or what you find difficult. So make sure to reach out, drop us a comment, send us an email if you have any questions or just topics you want to talk about. So today is Tuesday, August 10th. Talking about system maintenance. I'm going to walk around, kind of show you a few of the different systems, talk about how often you should rinse out your reservoir, change your water, what you should do if your water becomes, if it smells, if it has a film on it, something like that. So it's important when you're dealing with water that you keep it clean. What you don't want is to leave your water sitting. It'll develop a smell, a film on top of it. Ultimately, all that is going to be taken up by the roots of your plants, and it's going to go into your plants. And your plants are only as strong and as healthy as what you feed them, so remember that. If you don't take care of your systems, your plants can't take care of you, and that's the ultimate goal here. So let's take a look first at the tower. Let me flip this around. Alright, so our vertical drip tower, it has a really large reservoir. This is a 27-gallon tote. And as I take this off, you'll see that the water level, it's pretty high. It's about right here. I filled up some water in this today. It does not need a full system clean out except maybe once every month. Honestly, with the towers, you can do 2 months. Watch your water. Check your pH. That's also really important. So in between, your fill-ups and things like that, make sure your water's keeping the pH level that it needs so your plants can thrive. Other than that, these plants they grow so fast. I mean, look at this. They suck up so much water that for the most part, you'll find yourself topping it off, and you'll find that the water starts to get depleted really quickly. So that one, system maintenance, cleaning a full flush out once every 1 to 2 months. Otherwise, you can just fill up the water in between. When you do a complete flush out of this system, I recommend that you take the tub, drain all of the water out of it, clean it out with peroxide, something that will disinfect it but won't necessarily cause harm to, your plants if it's left in there. We have a little sink area. I'll show you here in a little bit how we clean it out with a hose. You could do it outside. You could do it in your sink area. I think more importantly is just to make sure that you keep any kind of slime off of the walls. If you start to see algae, you start to see mold, which will happen, make sure you clean it out as soon as you can at that point. And you're probably wondering, that's a lot of water. Like, how do I get the water out of there? So in our systems, let me see where it's at. We actually put a drain hole. So you'll see that's the outside of it. And if you come down in here, you'll see there's a plug. So we put these plugs in here just to make it easy to drain it out. You can put a pan under there, a 5-gallon bucket, whatever you need. So that way when it comes time to drain this thing, you can do that. Alright. So, the towers, they need to be cleaned out regularly. These are the deep water culture buckets. They are essentially just a 5-gallon bucket. Down there is, water and nutrients. This is not deep water culture. This is Crakey. So there are no air stones or anything like that. This is completely passive. This one you actually, in my opinion, don't need to clean it out until you're done with your grow, a full cycle. That's because it sucks up the water so fast that you'll notice that you have to do a complete refill of the water every few weeks. So at that point, it's not necessarily as important. So again, if you notice any kind of a film on the top of your water, then go ahead and take care of it. Otherwise, you should be good to let it go. That is that set it and forget it method. So we'll take a walk to the back of the store. And I mentioned this before, food grade hydrogen peroxide. The peroxide that you get at the grocery store or the drugstore, the brown bottle, it's shelf-stable peroxide. It's got additives in it that aren't necessarily good for your plants. Look for food-grade hydrogen peroxide. It might be hard to find it because it is corrosive. We sell it here. Look at it at hydroponic-specific locations for that food-grade peroxide. You have to dilute it. It's super strong, so it's like 12 parts water to 1 part peroxide. But it does the trick for not only killing your algae and any kind of bad things in your water, but to clean as well. So whenever we do, maintenance on our systems, we actually have like this half tub area in here. So we're lucky that we're able to use that, dump our water, do our clean, and completely do all new water when we're done. So the ebb and flow, something I want to show you with this is notice like this. You see, that is actually built up from the nutrient solution. And that's because a lot of the nutrients that we deal with in hydroponics, they have extra salts. And over time, those salts, or even, the clay pebbles, you can rinse them off, make sure they're clean and everything, but they're still going to leave behind this residue. So that residue can be seen on your plastic. So this is definitely due for a clean. I wanted to be able to show you guys, though. Many bigger, like larger commercial scale growers, they will have really large, think 100-gallon tanks with water. So think about something like this, but on a massive scale. So an entire greenhouse filled with these things, and a 100-gallon or 250-gallon tank that's constantly pumping water a few times a day and flooding all of the plants. Something that scale, you'll want to flush maybe once every 3 weeks or once every month. On a hobby level, something like this, you could get away with flushing this once every 1 month to 2 months. But when you do that, make sure that you're cleaning the inside of your reservoir, you're cleaning the inside of your ebb and flow tray and all that good stuff. So in between, top off your water, make sure your pump doesn't run dry. Another thing to note is if you let salts build up in your system and you let, all this sludge and everything in here get bad, it actually has to be pumped continuously through a water pump. So this table floods with water and then it drains back down. And each time that water, if it gets nasty, all that's going through your pump, or it's going through the filter of your pump, which over time will make your pump give out ultimately. It's working, twice as hard if it's not just pumping water, if it's pumping stuff that's also in the water. So don't make your pump work too hard. It'll quit on you in that case. So something to keep in mind, routine maintenance. Not only is it good for your plants, but it's good for the working parts of your system. So to ensure, that you don't have to replace your stuff too often. So something like this is our aeroponics tub. And let me see if I can lift it up and show you inside of here. It's a little dark, but I think you'll be able to see it. So in here I have the tubes and the nozzles, and this is basically, it's kind of like a deep water culture, which we'll look at in a minute, but it adds the extra tubes and the spray nozzles and stuff, and it also has a pump. So again, it's really important that with an aeroponic system that you're making sure that you do a complete flush of it. I would again say you could probably let it go a month and a half, 2 months, but I wouldn't push it. Maybe once a month is really a good habit to get into. So on to the NFT. This one is a little more intricate. You'll notice the reservoir down here, that's where the water's held. It pumps up this tube, kind of runs through all these pipes and back down into the reservoir. The thing to note about this system is that the reservoir is pretty tiny for the amount of plants that it's powering. So while it is important to think about cleaning your reservoir, you could probably do this every 3 months. And the reason being, the water gets depleted so fast. So honestly, within a week, I'm putting another 6-7 gallons into a 10-gallon reservoir, if that tells you anything. You just want to make sure your pump doesn't run dry. So this one we actually clean a little bit less, and that's because our water is always moving. So it's constantly got to flow. It's keeping everything moving and down in the reservoir down there. So in my opinion, it doesn't take quite as much maintenance. This is similar to the black buckets we saw up front. It's the Clearex method. It's often referred to as set it and forget it. These ones, I've seen people let go for months without cleaning them out. The downside to something like this is you'll tend to get some root rot. See those ones in the back, how their roots are a little bit darker than these ones up front? That's because they're not getting they're not getting much air. So they're starting to root rot, but they are pretty mature plants. They've given quite a bit. This is all catnip, so you know, if it's their time to go, it's their time to go. Not a big deal, but obviously not ideal. So in that case, you notice that happen, and you notice a film on top of your water, flush it out, clean it out. Same with the deep water culture. So this is just the Clearex bucket, but you add an air stone in it. And what you'll start to see is, you see those glops down at the bottom? This had a complete refresh a week ago. And those are just salts and deposits coming off of the nutrients. So, even if you mix everything right, even if you're changing the water out like you're supposed to, those mineral deposits will still happen. So, that's why your maintenance is really important. Let's also talk about a few of the systems, or rather nutrients or liquids that you can use in your system to help. So we've talked about Hydroguard a few times. This is going to create a healthy environment. It's going to try and help keep out that algae before it even starts. Makes your roots real strong and healthy. And I kind of like to compare this to a probiotic. So you have, like, you know, good bacteria and bad bacteria. So if you go ahead and make sure it's all good, your bad bacteria doesn't really have a chance to form. We have also got, where is it at? Clearex. We mentioned this last week. So this is a rinsing solution. So for circulating hydroponic systems like the ones that we run in here, you can actually flush your system with this Clearex. So two teaspoons per gallon of water, and adjust your pH, and you can go ahead and put that in your fresh water and recirculate it through your system for about 2 or 3 hours. Make sure you drain it completely before you fill back up, but that'll clean everything out for you too. And then similar to that, the other brand, General Hydroponics, they have Flora Clean, also a cleaning solution. This one you can add between nutrient changes, also a final flush before harvest, and it can actually be used in potting soil and soilless mixes both. So that is pretty neat. We talked about that. We talked about the peroxide. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and turn you around. We'll see if anyone has any questions or concerns. The main point of today, and the thing I just really want to hammer away, is don't get lazy with it. Not that you can't. You can let your plants go. They'll probably still live. They'll still keep growing. But you want to give them the best chance, and you want to make sure that the food that you're growing, the food that you're ultimately consuming, is good for you. And in order for that to happen, you need to have a healthy environment and a clean system. So take care of it. Make sure you're not letting any water sit for a long time. If you notice any smell, film, flies, things like that, that is a big, red flag. Go ahead and flush it out. Give it a fresh shot. It's also a good thing to know that you can actually, just keep growing. You can actually wash the roots. So you know how I've showed you like the roots of all the plants and everything. You can take those and run them right underwater. So if you've got roots that, let's say they do get covered in algae. Actually, one of our pepper plants, when we transplanted it to the store, it had algae on the roots because we were growing it in a container that light was getting through. And we were able to just wash the roots and put it right back in, and it kept growing. And it's still living today. It's the same one that my nephew was eating peppers off of. It's probably given me 40 cents then, so it's still chugging. Which system is the easiest to clean? Probably the one with no parts. So the Clearex bucket, it's literally just a bucket with water at that point. all you really have to do is make sure you drain the water. So a lot of times I will drain it into a 5-gallon bucket, and I'll take the 5-gallon bucket and I'll put it outside on the grass where there's other vegetation that could benefit from it, is where I usually put it. Anything else, you'll have to like flush the pump. You'll have to, like, for the towers, you clean the pipes, and for that I actually recommend that you harvest all your plants first and start from scratch. So that's also awesome. All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us. I hope you keep coming back. I think I'm going to do another tips and tricks one soon, but not necessarily for hydroponics, but specifically for plants. We're going to talk about different leaf colors, diseases for your plants. If you see things starting to act funny, how can you recognize a problem before it becomes, a larger problem? So we'll cover that in the next few weeks. But in the meantime, be easy. Let us know if there's anything that you need. Email us, ordering at growtimehydroponics.com. You can at growtimehydroponics.com. Our website, growtimehydroponics.com. And of course, if you're watching this, you either found our YouTube channel, our Facebook page, or our website. So go ahead and connect with the other one if you haven't seen all three of them. Leave us a review if you've been here, if we've helped you at all. We'd love to hear from you. We are a new locally owned business, and we're trying to build a good, solid foundation by taking care of people, giving good advice, and, onward and upward. All right, guys, thanks so much.